friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. Thank you for joining me today. I am playing with the February Hedgehog Hollow subscription kit, and this is jam-packed full of goodness because it's all about spring. It's got this Welcome Spring sentiment set. Isn't that fabulous? The sentiments are really fun, and I can't wait to use that pennant one. It's got a package of 12 double-sided pattern papers. These are nice, heavy papers with a pretty glossy sheen to them, so I'm definitely going to play with those today. Now the kit also came with this large stamp set called Pretty Petals. It's got a ladybug that I'm going to play with today. You can see it's got quite a variety of different patterns on the petals. This is like a build your own flower, and so much you can do with that. You have a stencil that coordinates with it, so you can actually stamp out these patterns in any variety that you like, and then add color either with that solid bold stamp or with that stencil. You can use the stencil all on its own to build your flower. Like, you really have a lot of options there. The kit came with 3 glitters: English mustard yellow, Vegas strip blue, and Eclipse black. These are gorgeous glitters, and it also came with an outrageous neon outrageous is the color, kaleidoscope powder. So I'm looking at this, and I know I'm going to play with the pattern paper in this spring sentiment set, but I am going to pull out some new embossing powders I just got from Maker Forte. Like, I have this really pretty purple sapphire, I have diamond glaze, I have rainbow sparkler, I have snow flurries, and blue quartz. And actually I just realized I have 2 of the rainbow sparkler, and that's the one I'll end up playing with today because I really like the fact that Maker Forte is coming out with some really special embossing powders. So I'm, just looking at the papers and trying to pick out what I want. I know I want to play with ladybugs today because a couple of the papers have ladybugs, and that little ladybug stamp is just too sweet not to play with. So I'm looking at the back sides of all the papers to see what's on the back. And I love the green stripe. I love the ladybugs. So I'll do something with those. And eventually I'll do something with those 2 white cardstock backs to the packaging that comes with the paper as well. So I decided that I'll just start by, for my first card, I'm going to make 3 cards today. For my first card, I'm just going to cut down my cardstock. So my card base is going to be 4 1/4 by 11. I'll score and fold that at 5 1/2. I'm going to cut a black mat that will be 4 by 5 1/4. And I will cut out my pattern paper, and that will be 3 3/4 by 5. And I'll put the extra pieces aside because those can be used for other projects, so those won't go to waste. And I decided that I wanted to do that Welcome Spring with the pennants or banners on it. I really like that sentiment. I think it's really, it's different than any of the ones that I have, and I noticed it was about an inch to 1.25 inches wide. So I cut a piece of vellum 6 inches by 1.5 inches. So I cut that down so I could use that sentiment on the vellum. So I decided just to go ahead and glue the black cardstock down to my card base. And then I'm not going to glue that pattern paper just yet because I want to use that to wrap my vellum sentiment around. So I'll go ahead and I will stamp that sentiment onto the vellum in my clear embossing ink, and then I'll go ahead and heat set that. Now I do use heat tolerant vellum. So I did actually search for vellum that's heavy enough to be heated, and it actually said on the package that it was heat tolerant. That is, sometimes like vellum can actually, you can sort of melt it, and if you're not careful, and if it's not thick enough, so you want to get heat tolerant vellum. I did use my powder tool to go over the vellum, and I just want to make sure it's straight in my MISTI. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp this with my clear embossing ink. so that I'm all ready to try out that Rainbow Sparkler embossing powder. So this stamps beautifully the first time. I usually never have trouble with the Maker Forte inks and the Maker Forte stamps. And I'm checking to make sure I'm picking up the correct embossing powder. And this is the first time I use it. Every time I open one of these, I always wonder, what has this package gone through in the transport from Maker Forte to my house, because there's always a little bit like sneaking out the side of the lid. But I pour that on and it is so sparkly. Oh my gosh. I can see green, I can see purple, I can see silver. I let my heat tool heat up a little bit, and then I keep it moving, and you can see how far away I'm holding that from the actual vellum. So I keep it moving. I do a little bit on the back, a little bit on the front, until I see it change. And like, I really did keep it pretty far away. Like, that's one of the keys. Keeping it moving is another one of the keys. And using the correct vellum also helps. So I love, 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 love the way this looks. It's so pretty. I don't know if you can see the sparkle there, but it is pretty amazing. Like, I think that their embossing powders are just special with that beautiful sparkle. So I decided I want to put this toward the top because I think the banner should go toward the top. So I'm just folding this around. So just make sure it's centered to the best, and just fold it over. And I just add a little bit of liquid glue underneath that and just hold it down for a second. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue that to the rest of my card. And then I have my card front, so I'll just add a couple more little touches. And I felt like my sentiment wasn't quite centered as well as I would have liked, and I definitely wanted to put another little ladybug on here. So I decided I would fussy cut out one of the little ladybugs and then pop it up on some foam to the left of my sentiment. And I'll add some crown jewel gems. And I believe the color of crown jewel gem that I'm using is the rose color. It's a pink color. It's very pretty. I really have quite a collection of crown jewel gems, and now glitters, obviously, but they seem to be coming out with new colors of glitter almost every month, which is super fun. So for my second card, I'm using that little ladybug stamp, and I'm going to just stamp it in all different directions. I keep turning it. I cover the entire card panel that I have, and I make some of them go off the edge of the page. And I decided I would color in a few of these. So I pulled out my R29 and my R24, R29 and R24. And I used the R29 on the right hand side and the R24 on the left hand side. And I was going to do just one, but then I decided I would do like one in a diagonal pattern all the way across the card. So I ended up coloring in 6 of these and leaving the rest black and white. I just thought that was fun. I love ladybugs, and I think this is an especially cute little one. And I like coloring them in, so I do a few. I created one of the sentiments. I just stamped it in the Eclipse black ink on white, and that's the ink that I used, by the way, there. I'm just adding that to a piece of red cardstock, and I just cut one side of the sentiment at an angle and added it to red cardstock. I'm just attaching that to my card front. I'm not using a lot of foam or anything like that. I'm just putting 3 dots of glue, and I'm going to add some of those pink, I believe they're rose crown jewel gems. They're really pretty. I also have red ones. I could have put red ones on this, but I had the pink ones sitting on my desk, and I thought they worked just fine with the red. And that's going to complete that card. So I kept that very simple and just made a diagonal across the card, basically, when I chose which ones to color. For the last card, I've got my card base. I've got a piece of hot pink, our very bright pink cardstock, which I'll glue onto the card base. I'm just making sure that I can get an even border all around. And I'm using a lot of liquid glue lately in these glue tubes that we can get. I like how easily they squeeze. Like if you have sore hands, these are actually pretty nice glue tubes to go ahead and add. So I just cut a piece of that pattern paper, and this is 3 3/4 by 5, and the striped piece is just the same paper, but I flipped it over and it's 1/4 by 5. So I just attach them together, and then I'm gluing them to my card front and trying to center everything so I get a nice even border. And then I'm going to go ahead and just pulling the bottom over a tiny bit. I'm going to go ahead and make a sentiment for this. And I'm thinking, I've been trying to use some of my old tools that I used to use all the time, but they've kind of been sitting in my stash for a while because I got newer, better tools. So I've been trying to pull out some of those things. So today I pull out a couple of punches because they still work great. They still are fun to use. If you don't have circle punches, then you can always use circle dies, because we all have a set of the never-ending circle dies, and definitely pull those out. If you have a set of circle dies with stitched edges, perfect. So I used the 2-inch punch to punch out my sentiment, which I just stamped in the Eclipse black ink. And then I use the 2.5-inch punch to punch out the bright pink to put on the back. And again, I will add a few of those pink crown jewel gems, and that will complete this card. And I'll pull out all 3 cards here in just a minute so that you can see them. And I like how quick and simple these are. I used to make a lot more cards with pattern papers, and I used to use my punches a lot more, and every now and then I really like to pull that stuff back out and use it again. And these pattern papers are so pretty. Like, spring papers are always so pretty. The colors are always lovely, and it seems like I feel like I just need the colors lately, the bright colors, to not feel like it's winter. So thank you so much for watching. I'll put the links to things below here, and I would love it if you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.